It is noon, and after verifying my identity, the executioner gave the order. Believe it or not, my head has fallen to the ground. It wasn't that I collapsed to the ground. My body and head separated. In other words, I was beheaded. Strangely, I can't be sure if I'm dead. What I'm certain of is that my soul hasn't left my body yet. It is so attached to my flesh that it is refusing to leave my head. Thankfully, it didn't remain in my chest. Otherwise, I'd be thinking with my lungs. When the executioner's blade touched my neck, I was indeed trembling with fear. Please don't laugh at me. From the moment the sharp blade touched me to the moment it left, less than half a second had passed, yet my life had undergone a qualitative change. Next, I found myself in freefall, spinning in the air. In the spin, I saw my body. A body so familiar. Yet now, it no longer belonged to me. The cross-section of my neck was something I had never seen before. Blood was gushing out, splattering all over the honest executioner. My limbs were flailing about, as if dancing, or perhaps boxing. Suddenly, my mouth bit into a clod of earth. It was truly heartbreaking. My head had fallen, but in such an undignified manner. I bounced on the ground a few times until I was in the right position. Thankfully, now the small part of my neck that was left was properly attached to the ground, avoiding the terrible situation I was so worried about. Being upside down or rolling around and being kicked around like a ball. Goodbye, my body. Now you're being dragged away. If you're lucky, you might be buried. If not, you'll just be dog food. My body is out of my sight, leaving only a large pool of my blood flowing tirelessly until it seeps into the soil and nourishes the lovely little grass. As I lay on the ground, lost in thought, someone grabbed my hair and lifted me up. Then I swayed and wobbled, as if flying. I could only see the man's belt. I wanted to curse him, but half of my vocal cords remained there, the other half in my body, my lungs and trachea. The organs that carried air were gone forever. So, I could only glare at him helplessly. I was hung on the city gate, a thin rope tied at one end to the battlement and the other to my hair. The city gate was just a few feet below my chin. The capital was quite prosperous. People coming and going always passed beneath me, each giving me a once-over. And of course, I gave them a once-over in return. Some of these men and women cast disdainful glances at me. Others were taken aback, then touched their necks. Most of these people were like me. Still others shook their heads and sighed, using me as a negative example to educate future generations. A few literati took the opportunity to express their poetic sentiments, reciting verses about the brevity of life, and some even spat at me upon seeing me. Luckily, I was hanging high up. Otherwise, I would have been drowned in spittle long ago. The sun was blinding me, and swarms of flies began their attack, buzzing and flapping their wings, probably mistaking me for a pile of excrement. Even worse, several disgusting maggots burrowed into my skull, frantically gnawing at my mouth and brain. I had no idea where they came from. Perhaps this was the prelude to complete decay. The thought of my head soon becoming a stinking skull, with a lingering ghost residing within, filled me with anxiety for the city's sanitation. The long day was drawing to a close. The setting sun like blood, much like my own head! I realized that the sunset was indeed similar to me now. A bodiless sphere, except it hung in the sky, and I hung on the city gate. After nightfall, many ghosts appeared around me, seemingly pitying me, expressing sympathy for my miserable plight. But I ignored them. I had only one wish, for my soul to leave my body quickly. I chased away the wandering spirits, wanting only to be alone. I could still feel it, The evening breeze brushed my cheeks, sending a bone-chilling cold deep into my head. I wasn't in pain. Really, not in pain. But suddenly, I was in excruciating pain again. I thought of her. Sometime during the night, a crescent moon hung high in the sky. Beneath the high palace walls, the Imperial guards, wielding halberds, grew weary. They didn't notice a white figure darting out from behind the red walls and green tiles. The white figure appeared and disappeared before you, moving lightly through the curfewed streets, appearing like a ghost. Her footsteps were as if made of silk, so light they made no sound. You could only hear the echoes from the depths of the night. Now you can see her back, a white back, strikingly conspicuous in the absolute darkness, yet forgotten by the living during the curfew. Still, a back view, but you can get closer. A white robe draped over a seductive body. A body with perfect curves, its flawless undulations like clouds in the night. Shift your focus from her slender waist to her hair. Her hair styled in a bun, subtly shimmering. However, you must not have any wild thoughts, because this body will always belong to only one person. And that person is me, if she allowed. You might see her profile, revealing her entire figure. A sight beyond compare. She finally reached the city gate, staring at the hanging head, still calm and composed, gazing serenely at that familiar face. A young guard at the gate was fast asleep, perhaps dreaming of the girl he longed for. The woman in white, you see, gently bypassed the guard and walked up the city gate. She reached the high battlements, the entire city and the majestic palace in its center laid out before her. You could look down the long wall and see her slowly lift the rope holding the head until she cradled it in her arms. I now lie in her arms, a strong, alluring scent emanating from her breasts, filling my cold nostrils. Her hands are so warm, holding me tightly, yet they can no longer warm my skin. She buries me deeply within her body, as if using her chest as my burial ground. My face was completely sunken. I couldn't see anything, in absolute darkness, when suddenly a bright light flashed before my eyes. Dazzlingly bright. It was her heart. Yes, I saw her heart. You might be trembling at the scene. The woman's white dress was actually mourning clothes, stained with a few drops of blood from the head, like exquisite flowers. She held on so tightly, as if holding her life. In the moonlight, you finally saw her face. A face so beautiful it could topple kingdoms, as if she had just stepped out of a classical mural. Perhaps each of you had the desire to touch her, to remember her face forever. But now, her face was pale, bloodless, yet for some, this only made it more alluring, a beauty born of profound sorrow. The bloodied head had been hidden in her arms for a long time. She slowly moved the head upwards, past her pale neck, her delicate chin, her rouge, red lips, her straight, slender nose, her deep, pool-like eyes, her orchid-like eyebrows, and her smooth forehead adorned with cloud-like hair. To your astonishment, you saw her boldly staring into the dead head, her hands cradling the bloody tip. She showed no fear, calmly gazing at it. The head's expression was actually quite serene, as if without a trace of pain, a faint smile seemingly playing on its lips, only its eyes remained open, as if staring at her. In the moonlight, if you had the courage, you could see that this gaunt face was deathly pale, yet not as horrifying as you might imagine. I allow you to look at my face. Her hands guided me upwards, and I felt as if I were a small boat gliding through layers of undulating waves. Finally, our eyes met. She didn't cry. Her face was expressionless, but I knew she was deeply grieved, and therefore, she was also incredibly beautiful, especially in her simple, chaste dress. I wanted her to know I was looking at her, just as she was looking at me now. I understood everything, but I was forced to remain silent. Her lips were so hot. You shouldn't have seen the woman in white kiss that severed head. Yes, her burning lips were pressed tightly against those of a dead man. The dead man's lips were icy cold, a coldness that pierced her skin, but she didn't mind, as if the man were still alive, still the one who had warmed her lips. Only now he was cold, and he would awaken beside her burning red lips, would he? The kiss lasted a long time, until finally the woman released her lips. Then she whispered a few words in his ear. "Don't eavesdrop! Let's go home." She whispered these words in my ear. Her voice was the same as it had been a month ago, a year ago, even 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, exquisitely magnetic, like a magnet attracting everyone's ears. She held me in her arms, walked down the city gate, the young guard still deep in slumber. She carried me in her hands, quietly leaving the city, wandering through the desolate wilderness. I don't know how long we walked, but I seemed to see lights. You continued to follow her across the wasteland to a vast, untouched bamboo forest. Deep within the forest, there was a thatched hut. She entered, lit an oil lamp, and in its dim, flickering light, you could see several straw mats and a small table inside, along with a large wooden tub filled with hot water. Under the lamplight, she seemed to have a touch of bloodlust. She lit a bundle of rare Indian spices, which emitted a strong fragrance that quickly dispelled the stench of the dead head, making your noses feel better. Then, she gently immersed the head in the tub, carefully washing its head, which, for a head, was tantamount to bathing. The congealed blood dissolved upon contact with the hot water, turning the tub crimson. Water everywhere filled my head. The steaming water poured from the cut in my neck into my mouth and brain, submerging me completely, drowning my soul. Don't think I'm struggling in the water. The truth is, my soul is swimming happily. Those wretched maggots, on the other hand, have either drowned or been scalded to death, their corpses flowing out from under my neck. My remaining body and my soul both feel boundless joy in the water. We are born of water, and we return to water. Water is life. I firmly believe this. You tremble with fear as you watch her wash the head and dry it with a towel. Now the head is clean, and the eyes seem to shine. If it weren't for the absence of a body, you might mistake it for a vibrant, living person. Then she combs his hair. She takes a wooden comb from her sleeve, made of fine wood with exquisite carving. She combs carefully, though the oil lamp is dim. Every single hair is distinguishable. In the past, she often combed his hair, usually after bathing, when his long hair reached his waist, sometimes taking an hour to comb. She would gently part his hair, which, still damp and steaming after a bath, was submissively conquered by her comb. During this time, they remained silent, quietly enjoying the moment. After she finished combing his hair, he would comb hers. Another hour passing by. You don't need to know these things. Right now, you only feel the horror of a dead man's hair. You won't notice that she still has those gentle hands. Everything is the same as before, except that he has lost his body, which she couldn't bear to part with, and can no longer comb her hair. Finally, she finished combing his hair, styled it into a fashionable bun, and gently placed him on the table. Next, she began to remove her blood-stained white clothes, becoming completely naked. Do not look. If you still have any morals, please don't look. Leave this place. Leave this place forever. She looked at me, and I looked at her smooth body, glowing with a strange reddish light under the oil lamp. She seemed to have transformed into a ball of red fire, soaking in a newly filled tub of hot water. This fire within her had once burned me intensely, and it still burned me now. After a long while, she stepped out of the tub, embraced me tightly once more, and lay down on the straw mat, leading me into a dream. In the dream we spoke. When I saw the world again, I could feel a hot liquid rolling down my cheeks. Her tears. Sunlight streamed through the bamboo leaves and the window, piercing my pupils, stirring my reclusive soul. I underwent a complete preservation process. First, all the impurities inside my skull were removed, leaving only my mouth, nasal cavity, and brain. Then I was immersed in alcohol and mercury, allowing these two liquids to penetrate every inch of my skin and tissue. Then, she stuffed my head with many unknown spices and herbs, some specially transported from distant and mysterious lands, others collected by her from deep in the mountains and forests. In short, these dozens of rare materials, combined with a nearly lost top-secret formula, were carefully blended by her into a rare preservative, placed deep within many corners of my skull. She did all of this herself. Finally, she wrapped the bowl-sized scar on my neck with a delicate sheet of iron, with a layer of gold leaf on the inside, to ensure it would never rust. From that moment on, I became a mummy. I don't know what being a mummy means, especially in my peculiar, lingering state. My soul should have left my body long ago, but perhaps it will forever reside within this head, unchanging for millennia, imperishable for 10,000. Or others like me. Anyway, one can only experience this once. As for whether it is as people say, only those who have been through it, like me, know. But once the head is chopped off, how can the truth be revealed to the world? Should I be grateful or sad? Did I die young or live forever? My thoughts are a jumbled mess, like a paralyzed person lying in bed, powerless against everything, left only with keen senses and wild imaginings. She came, still dressed in white. She carried me out of the thatched hut. She led me for a walk in the bamboo forest, letting me breathe fresh air. But alas, I no longer have lungs, so I can't enjoy the air. The bamboo forest was filled with birdsong, and a damp breeze blew in my face. My mood suddenly brightened, even though I no longer had a heart. This might be how my life would continue. But what about her? I gazed at her, and suddenly my heart ached. On the first day of my mummy's life, my soul was already weeping.